Alright guys, it's Saturday, it's freaking cold, and we have a lot of mobile calls to go on to today. I figure I'd take you along, maybe be interested, maybe not. The first one is a 06 Freestar that dies out when you hit the washers. Hit washers, go clean your windshield, and the car dies out. Odd concern, plus it dies out at other times randomly, so we're gonna go check that out. Hopefully it's not a major electrical nightmare. And then we're gonna go on to another one. That's a 97 F-150. It's got a rough idle, a check engine light on. I'm sure that one has, you know, a lean condition, a hose, that PCV hose that is just sucking air and causing the rough idle and the lean codes, I'm sure. And then we're gonna go on to another one. It's an 06 Ford 500, no, 07 Ford 500 that he has an ABS concern. I diagnosed it the other day, but he also has a check engine light on now also. So we're gonna check that out so we can have both parts ready in hand next time you go out to fix the ABS concern. And after that, we have an 06 Explorer that needs new trans-cooler line fittings at the radiator. Put in a cheapy radiator type deal the guy did, and the O-rings just aren't holding up on there. So we have new ones from Dorman. They're available separately from them, so hopefully they work out. Either way, anything's better than the ones that are on there. It's leaking pretty bad, so we're going to change that out and adjust some trans fluid. We'll see what I can get for recording here and there. The one I really want to get is the 97 F-150 with the lean codes. I think it has lean codes, the running rough, and how I approach that. And the first one right now, which is the 06 Freestar with the weird electrical concern. Might be interesting. Okay, made it out to the job site here, and you can see this thing's been sitting for a while. I mean, it's been sitting for a while. So, of course, the battery's totally dead. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump start it. I didn't know it was sitting there for so long, so I didn't bring a charger with, but I did bring jumper cables. So we're gonna go ahead and jump it and get some power going to it, and then we're gonna start pulling codes and see what's going on. Now what he just said is that if he touches anything inside the vehicle, turns anything on, the vehicle just dies. So it might be an alternator problem, might not. Take a look at the engine compartment. It could be anything because it's just been sitting for so long. Especially that alternator. So we'll get it jump started, and we'll see what's going on from there. That's how you jump start a vehicle. Positive to the good battery. Where's it at? Positive. Is it red? Okay. And then you go to the positive of the dead battery. Move around a little bit. And then you put the negative on the good battery. There you go. And then you put the ground onto the engine, or I still put it onto the battery terminal, even though you shouldn't. Okay, now we're gonna get the scan tool out, and we're gonna see what kind of codes this thing has and see if it actually dies out going down the road, or whenever you touch anything. What that sounds like once the vehicle started is it's not charging, and it's gonna die out. Obviously, too much current, PCM shuts down and it turns off. All right, let's bring the IDS over here. Check it out. Wipers are stuck on. Must have been a rainy day. Okay, let's plug the VCM in. Start talking to it. Maybe try to start it. And everything seems normal in the cluster in there. There's no weird dashes or anything weird like that going on, so let's bring Ford up on here and enter. Everything's all freaking out. Okay, let's go ahead and ID the vehicle since we have proper battery voltage coming from the truck. Make sure we can talk to the PCM and stuff like that. It's the very first thing we're gonna do, and then we're gonna check for current codes on here. You know, anything that's on demand that's causing issues. It's IDing it just fine. 3.9 liter. It's a less common engine. Usually they're a 4.2 liter on these. Okay, so this thing has every code in the book. Usually a lot of circuit codes like this in the gem, but never any actual faults. Of course, module communication failure, not configured correctly. Next generation speed controllers jacked up. Who cares? We just want to talk to the PCM. RCM, he's got a lot of different warning, a lot of problems on here. What we're interested in right now is getting the vehicle running though. Let's go ahead and start it. Okay, so it runs really good. As soon as it starts up, it runs really good. Now at this point, it looks like it's charging too. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the jumpers off of here. And get ourselves a battery reading here. Okay, so we're charging at 14.5 volts, which is perfect. Okay, so we're gonna have to see why it's dying out like this. We're gonna have to duplicate it first, actually. So he said if we use the washers, we're gonna die out. And we're not. Of course. Alright, so check it out. We have rear defrost on and the headlights, and we're still charging nice and high on there. So the alternator is definitely fine on here. Battery's obviously toast. We already know that. And we're going to have to see if we can get the die out. Alright, so it's charging. It's running absolutely great. I turn on any electrical accessory and the alternator can handle it. Nothing's dying out, so I'm not sure exactly what to tell this guy. Besides, we need to do the PCM reseal because he plans on keeping the vehicle. But I'm going to clear all the codes first and all the modules, and then we're going to retest them on here. I'm going to try to load it up. Yeah, make sure there's no misfires, make sure it doesn't overheat, and all that usual stuff that you check on a vehicle that's been in storage. The better question is, are these plates expired? I'm sure they are. There's not even plates on it, so. Yeah. It runs great though. Charging great. So, I don't know. We're gonna need a battery at least. So, let's go over here to the cluster, and it says the cluster is not configured correctly. Run PMI on it. I can do that, and SCP data link fault, which no big deal. We got to program it first. Let's go ahead and do that. I don't know if the cluster's been changed out or what. But we can definitely do that from my scan tool, thankfully. So we can take care of that and retest for codes and proper operation. This is the nice thing about having the Ford scan tool. I can sit here and I can actually program a vehicle, access the Ford server, and put in the correct parameters from the as-built data for the vehicle. As long as I have a internet connection, which I think I do now. As-built data from the home, which means I need to go to PTS, which I am not connected to. Okay, so we are going to go into Ford PTS server and get our as-built data for the cluster, because these are it's an older vehicle, so let's see if there's any SSMs for those codes. Nothing. No TSBs or SSMs. So we'll go in and get our as-built, which is super secret code, and put it in there, and it knows what to pull, what file to pull from the server then. Where's the IC at? Usually it's not too long. Okay, 1942. Where is it at? Where is it at? Okay. 1942 0000 is what I remember. Usually I write this stuff down. 0084. Make sure we go back in the box here. 0084. Hit enter. And we programmed the cluster. Now we should have no cluster codes as far as that goes. Let's turn it off. Back on. Okay. Let it boot back up. And now, let's see what our current codes are. Yeah, everything in this vehicle seems to be working just fine. Cluster's not flipping out, the dinging. It's charging, oil's good, coolant's good. All the things I'm trying as far as wipers and accessories are good. So let's see what the codes are now that the cluster is configured. Might have to clear a few from actually programming it. Data link fault, which goes to the other modules, no big deal. And P1000 on the PCM. Okay. Okay, so far this vehicle works perfectly fine. I'm going to do a little test drive around the lot here in a second. But first, I want to do a key-on engine running test to see if it finds any faults when it actuates all the inputs, or the outputs at least, on here. And if that passes, we're going for a test drive around the lot here. This will test everything now that the vehicle's running. Revs the engine. They want you to test the brake, steering wheel pressure input, your cruise inputs, everything. Overdrive button if you have it, and stuff like that. Besides that, I'll test the EGR, IMRCs, all kinds of stuff while the engine's running like this. And you can see right there, P1000, no problems found, except needs to go through the IM240 onboard test. That's about it. Alright, let's go for a test drive. Lights are on. Lowers. Runs great. Reverse park aid works. Gear engagement's nice and smooth. Drive, instant. Okay. Well, let's go around the lot here. Tires are filled that I know of. I don't know if we can go out down here. It responds very well too. I mean, it needs a cleaning, but nice thing. Even the brakes aren't that bad. Shifting gears fine. Okay, so the only fault we really found on this car was the battery was totally done for. The plates were sulfated inside of there, and they're contacting and therefore causing all kinds of weird issues, and they can even kill the vehicle going down the road. It is possible. It's not very likely, but it can happen. The vehicle's charging just fine, so we definitely need to change the batteries. We're changing that out right now, and then we're going to do a draw test while we're doing the wiper cowl reseal for the PCM on here. And that way, that's taken care of. The guy knows it's a common issue. He saw my video on it, and he wants it taken care of because he just got this vehicle for his company. So we're going to take care of that. New battery, and then we're going to go for another little test drive around the lot here. It's as far as I can go without plates in the vehicle. And you can just test from there. But right now, I tried everything in this vehicle to try to get it installed, and it just runs too perfect. So, okay, so we're doing the reseal for the PCM on here. And there's one thing I didn't mention in the other video that I did the whole procedure on how to reseal it. It's always a good idea to take out, where's it at? You'll see this right here, okay, sitting next to it. Yank on this, pop it off, put it to the side, okay, and then you're gonna go down in here, and there's one little nut, 11 mil, and then this whole thing comes off. What this is the only way for water to get out of the wiper cowl that accumulates inside of it from regular rainstorms and stuff like that. It's got to have a way out. Well, it all drains right down here. Here is the problem. You see how it is? It's a flexible duct down here. All the mud and sticks and leaves over the years, they get caught in there, and guess what? This thing's not draining anything anymore. If it is, it's a trickle. It's a good idea to clear this thing out too. It's bad. And there's a similar design like this on the Taurus vehicles, but those don't have the problem with the water getting the PCM. But this will definitely cause a repeat concern. Come here, check it out. Usually if you just squeeze it, you can kind of push it out. It's stapled to it, so you don't want to yank it off. Looks like mulch. I mean, it can be bad. So if you have look at all that, that's leaves. If you have a garden hose, you'd use that and then use air. We just have air, so that'll be good enough. Wow. But yeah, all that came out of there. It's plugging it, and it's not going to be able to drain any water off the wiper cowl. And it's just going to seep right back into the PCM no matter how good you seal it. So the real fix for this is to get all that water away from ever being accumulated to go to the PCM. And that's why you pull the drain plugs out too. So just a few other good tips about this TSB that's concerned the Freestars. Okay, our battery draw test is complete. And you see what we got on here? 11, 12, 13, and it jumps to 24 every time that security light flashes in the cluster on there. That's why you see that jump on there once in a while. So that is absolutely perfect for a draw on this vehicle. It's usually around the high teens for a draw. So our resealing is done. We're gonna put it back together and we're gonna get out of here. Okay, we're out here at our next job. It's a 07 500. We're gonna check the check engine light, whatever code was set on there, and check for other codes too on there. So what I have on here so far is that 1175 code. I need to replace that left rear sensor on the ABS. What's this one for ABS? Continuous memory DTCs. Unexpected vehicle speed. All he has is a 316 code on there. ABS, that's from me pulling it the other day. So it looks like we just need to clear codes on it. Now what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to do something. I'm going to reset the cam on there and let it learn the idle once again and try to get something out of this. What happens is you need to reset the misfire profile correction every once in a while in these vehicles sometimes, especially for that 316 code on there. And it will read the crank trigger wheel more accurately. That way it'll learn the new inconsistencies in the trigger wheel. So we're going to do that after we clear the codes and let it idle for a little bit and learn the idle also with the throttle body. Okay, let's go ahead and clear the cam let it do its thing. And this way we start out fresh on here. Let her idle for a little bit while we clean up. And we're good. Now what I also do generally is I'll check for, there's a lot of TSBs out there for these 316 codes, for new reflashes for the PCMs also. Be something to check. No later software, so we'll just reset it, let it relearn, and we'll just go from there. Now it's funny, I actually have a whole new video on that P0316 code and why it was setting at this particular time of year. I'll link down below to that. You can get a more in-depth thought process on that. Now the 97 F-150, that guy canceled, he had to work. And then the last stop of the day, the 06 Explorer with the trans-cooler lines, well, as you guessed it, I had to change the radiator on it because it was such a cheap radiator that the Dorman fittings that have the same thread style as the Ford OEM radiators, well, on the cheapy radiator, it had a very fine thread, so it was not compatible. The only real fix is to change the whole radiator out on there. So we had to change that to a Spectre Premium, and I still put the Dorman units in next to a double O-ring. Great design. I'll go over all that in a future video, explaining what to watch out for if you're going and trying to cheap out on a radiator on those Explorers 2006 through 2010. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Follow me along on a one day of mobile calls all over the greater Chicagoland area. If you guys have any work you want me to do in your vehicles, I'll do it at a discounted price, obviously, and we'll take care of you so you can get your vehicle up and running again, fixed right the first time, and back on the road.